Unscripted, unshackled, uncouth.
What you're about to hear is for more mature audiences only.
It's Miguel and Holly, Uncensored.
Hello. Hi. We're here.
Hey.
Welcome to Miguel and Holly Uncensored. We are streaming live on the Miguel and Holly and the Hits 961 Facebook pages and the Miguel and Holly YouTube channel. You can always go look at it if you listen. Also, we've done something really cool, a little bit more work for Holly and producer Kelvin, but I think this makes your listening experience so much easier to the full show. So, since we've been here in Charlotte, when you go listen to Miguel and Holly's full show podcast, it's one big hour and a half long or hour and something long minutes audio segment.
Yeah.
And if you're like, man, I really just want to get to the sexy Charlotte Zillow of the week, or I really just want to hear
The check-in
or whatever. Well, now under the full show podcast feed, we've broken out each of the individual segments. So you can, if you're like, I really want to hear trending for the day, and that's it. You can do that. And so just type in Miguel and Holly full show, and it's all there.
That makes it easy. I mean, it really does.
Absolutely. And spread the word. Tell somebody else about the podcast or the show. That really helps us out. Thank you so much. So I'm trying to figure out what direction I want to go in because I have The World is Burning. I have Holly's Pissed. And then I have something that I think we all will have an opinion on. So choose your own adventure. What do you all like?
Wait, what am I pissed about? I forgot.
Once I read it.
Wait, so The World is Burning. I'm going to be pissed about something, or we all going to have an opinion on something?
The World Burning. I feel like we did that.
We did that
ago.
Pretty often.
Yeah, actually.
When is the world not burning?
I just don't want it to
it's
burn.
burning.
Like it
It's
is.
already
but
on fire.
No, it's like
it's also
literally
important to have the conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, can you at least tell us what it is? We don't have to talk about it. Like, I'm curious about which way it's burning this time. Like, how is the apocalypse going at us now?
People are shooting up people.
Oh, no, I can't.
People are
no.
just, and then there's like this whole, well, hold on. Well, first, I want to say too, in that conversation, if we did have it, how if you don't know, and this is not something we would bring up on our on-air show about how Fox News has to pay the voting system Dominion $745 or $37 million for spreading false information that the election was rigged.
Correct.
They have to pay that. The Dominion wanted to take it to court, and because they have done this whole exploratory thing where they had emails and texts and everything.
7,000, or maybe I've lied. I don't know the number, but it is in the thousands of pieces of evidence.
Of them saying like, "Oof, this is really crazy. I can't. These wackos we're having on here. This is so crazy. We shouldn't be saying what Trump's saying." And then they got on air and said, "Well, the election was rigged," and like saying one thing behind the scenes, reporting something else. But
it wasn't true. It was not like the voting system was not rigged.
And
is
what's
basically what it was.
Right. And what's unfortunate about all of this is that this company was drugged through the mud, on all the conservative outlets.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're losing money because of this. And so they sued Fox News for libel, I believe it is. And so that's usually really hard to prove. But with all this information, it was pretty much going to be like a slam dunk case.
Yeah.
And their whole thing was pay us the money we lost. And also, we want you to get on Fox News. We want Tucker Carlson or Rupert Murdoch or one of those people to say, we lied. But Fox News said, we'll pay you off, but we're not doing an apology on air. So there's nothing on the Fox News, anything about this.
Of course.
But I say that to say there are people in talks and, the stuff that I sort of read and listen to that are saying that's also why the world that Fox News has created for people that watch it all the time and that's all they watch, that, they've always been like the world is burning, since like the late 90s. And so you have these older people that live in these stand your ground states that you have the case of the two girls in upstate New York who literally were just trying to like turn around And then the old guy was like, "Oh no, shoot, shoot, shoot."
She
Shot
died.
the girl. She's
The
dead.
one girl died.
And then there's the young guy who was just trying to find his poor brothers and sisters, went to the wrong house, guy shot him. And then he went to 3 different houses to try to
he
get
had been
help.
shot,
Right.
and nobody helped.
No.
Because everyone's like, oh my God, nope,
Insane.
can't do it. I mean, it is scary out there, but like, it's been created.
Right. And that's what people are saying is that, not saying these people are racist or anything like that, but just saying that when you live, and my mom is in this right here, and mom, if you're listening, stop watching the news. All my mom does is sit and watch the news. And so she called me last night and she was like, well, did you hear about, and did you hear about, and did you hear about? And I'm like, no, I didn't. Like I do my little, I have these 2 podcasts I listen to for news, stuff like that. And then I'm done for the day. But she just watches it all the time. And so if you live in that world of doom and destruction and you think that everybody's going to come rob you because the cities are burning, you're going to shoot someone when they come just looking for their brother and sister.
Right.
Exactly.
There's
Any of the cable news networks are you have to be very careful because Amy Gordon said CNN is false news also. CNN went a whole direction too, where they went in the, oh, well, we want to talk about the world is burning, but in the other direction. And it was all very inflammatory. And so this was like in 2020, I put on my social media, like the bias scale of where you're getting your news from. Like what is the organization and which way does it lean? Which way are the stories going to come with a slant? And is it going to be inflammatory or not? And it showed that like the BBC, I think, and the Associated Press are pretty run-of-the-mill, like pretty neutral news sources if you're looking for them. Now, this was in 2020, so I haven't done updated research. They may have gone a different type of direction one way or the other, but if you're looking for like a neutral, hey, we're just delivering you the news, BBC News and AP News are typically 2 pretty good sources to just simply get facts from without inflammatory pushes.
I've heard Al Jazeera as well is a good one.
I mean, and I even though, Fox News and those people talk about NPR, but like NPR, when you listen, they're just saying, here is what happened. So like when I wake up in the morning, I listen to my liberal sort of show with their bent. And like sometimes I'm like, y'all, Jesus Christ, like people are doing their best. Stop it. But that's the liberal bent. I like that. And then when I get in the car and I leave the station, I listen to the NPR Up First podcast where it's like, here's the big 3 things that you need to know. And then I listen to the New York Times podcast, The Daily, where they go in depth on like one big story for the day. And so you can, by the language, you can tell, like what's fact and what's not about the way that they say, here is what happened. This person did this and this person did that.
But that's the problem. And that's what I found. This is really one of the things that caused me to unhook from Facebook because somebody was like, well, who do you know put that out? Like, why doesn't the person that it was like a collegiate study. A lot of people do not know how to read. What's the word I'm looking for?
Decipher?
Decipher through reading a text if there is biased language or like advertisement woven in, which is why, side tangent, we have to be so clear about what we're endorsing and the fact that we're being paid to endorse it. Like you see people like Kim Kardashian who are having to pay money because it was like what they did was not disclose that they were advertisers because people can't tell the difference. And it's often that thing where it's like, oh, well, we assume everybody can read the same block of text and infer that this may be either inflammatory or biased or blatantly false just based on the language. But that's not the case. It's just not the case. And it's like a failing and a bigger thing where it's like America's schools are failing because they're not teaching this level of reading comprehension anymore. And, or they are teaching it, but people aren't really paying attention to it. And they're just kind of passing them to get them through. And it's like America is truly struggling with a problem of like reading comprehension. And did you understand what you just read? And believe me, I am certainly not sitting here trying to call people like, oh, people are just stupid. They simply haven't been taught how to objectively read a source, parse through it, and say, that doesn't sound right. That's setting off a couple of red flags because of the language being used. Very smart people can be confused
Mhm.
and taken in by it and not realize that what they're reading isn't straight fact. It's opinion because of the way that it's written. It happens to tons of people.
And unfortunately, you have so many bad actors that, have an agenda at play that want
Yes.
to confuse people. There was this
So many
whole
politicians in
right.
general.
Well, that's always been the case for politicians. They
Always.
always have their agenda.
It's their
But
job.
Always.
but like the people that are reporting the news were back in the day when
Yes.
all we had were the local newspaper, ABC News, NBC News, and CBS News, and they took it to heart. We just want to tell you, we want to go past the politicians' bullshit and then just say, here is what you need to know to make the decisions or to protect yourself. But
And
like,
calling people out and calling out the politicians
Right.
when they were being shady because people might not understand political speak, but these reporters think you're like Walter Cronkite's or somebody. That
Right.
there was this reputation for journalism where these were people of integrity that were not going to BS you.
It's really
Or-
offensive when I hear comments like, "Oh, these news people, they're just so biased and they have their own agendas, et cetera, et cetera." I went to UF and I have so many news reporter friends who just go out there and do their job.
Yeah.
Like nobody's
Well,
paying them under the table to,
especially the local leg.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
local media
100%.
people
Yeah.
are you can pretty much guarantee that they're going to be full of integrity doing their job, reporting
Yes.
facts. It's when you get up into these who's
The Foxes.
paying for it, like the cable news programs where you're
Yes.
like, who's funding, who's bankrolling this news?
Right.
And it with the advent of like celebrity culture and TMZ, suddenly it became like, oh, we're just reporting the news, but it's speculative and
Mhm.
it's dramatic and everybody needs to keep viewers longer, so we're gonna make sure it is dramatic. And the waters got real murky on the national scale,
Right.
I think.
Yes. I agree.
It's really unfortunate that we've gotten to this point that you feel like you can't trust anything. I was listening to this podcast maybe a year or two ago where in some cities where because of declining advertising for newspapers and for TV stations, there are some smaller cities where they don't have a local newspaper anymore and they don't have a local TV station. And so you have these sort of websites that looks like if you live in Charlotte and you went to the Charlotte Observer, or if you go to the Tampa Bay Times, if you live there, it looks like a real site.
Yes.
And they'll have like some articles, but then like as you start to read it and it's like, oh no, baby, like, and that is not real. And we're funded by people who are trying to like get rid of a certain politician or activist
Right.
or whatever the case may be.
Yes.
So I think between all of that, AI,
yeah.
we
That's a
hadn't even
whole
gotten to
other
that about how like that Drake and the
Drake and the
Weeknd
Weeknd
song
song.
Yeah.
was fully produced by just AI and
Mhm.
people thought it was real.
Yeah.
Like,
It just now, I think today or yesterday, got pulled.
yeah. I mean, it's
We
So-
living in crazy times. Like, I'm so sick of living in crazy times. Can we live in normal times? No? Okay, that's
Never
fine. There's
again.
gonna be no more normal times till the end of time.
Never again.
No.
About the AI stuff, I find it so fascinating and so cool. But then when you take a step back and reflect, I would not like somebody taking my voice, my image, and doing something inappropriate or
Yeah.
anything else, really.
Yeah.
So I feel for these artists who are like, what the fuck? You're putting me on an Ice Spice song?
I know.
Like, but it sounded so
Not
good.
Ice
It sounded
Spice.
so good.
it's all very scary. And and especially right now with all of the things that are happening when it comes to LGBTQ issues
Yeah.
and how, this crop of if you're gay, if you're a drag queen, you are a pedophile and you're going after kids. And it's like, when are they, because I can mark this down, on April 19th, 10:53 a.m., there's going to be some sort of AI picture, video,
I think it's
recording
already
of some
started.
drag queen that's not real that said,
Right.
look, look, look. Because
Right.
in all the times that, all these bills that are passing, and we're now, it's rolling out to North Carolina. And go back to that podcast we talked to Erica Chanel with, a local drag queen here in Charlotte. And now it finally, they introduced it, and the House voted on it. And just a few minutes ago here in North Carolina, it passed the House, and the Democrat turned Republican who ran on supporting LGBTQ issues voted yes on it, the drag ban bill. Surprise, surprise. But there's just a matter of time before they create those fake scenarios, because you constantly see, as the LGBTQ and allies saying, drag is not a crime. And when was the last time that you saw a drag queen get accused or arrested for being a pedophile?
Zero.
None. But the people that are doing the pointing of the fingers, those are the people that have been arrested and that have been charged with this.
Well, I often feel like, and this is like a psychological thing. I mean, think about the part. Let's give one example before I go into this. But like the example would be like if a man is cheating on his wife, suddenly he starts accusing the wife of cheating, and she's like, I'm not cheating. And like then they have this whole argument, and there's now more control being exercised by him because he doesn't trust her. And it's all like a smoke and mirror scam to deflect about what's really going on with him, because it's in his mind. And he's like, if I'm cheating, obviously this person must be cheating.
Right.
It's like a psychological phenomenon where you're like, I'm lying, so maybe other people are lying too, and everyone's just liars. Or I'm very manipulative and controlling, so everyone else must be. People are, doing bad things. I don't know whether they are legit pedophiles or if they're just whatever they are. So it's happening, so everyone must be. And
Right.
I don't know if it's deflection or what you would call it, but it sucks because so many people are falling for it.
It is. I'm having every day when there's like another state, there's another bill, there's another, like if this passes, it would be here in North Carolina, it would be this December. So like we did, Pride happens in August here, and it's about, drag queens performing in public, and it's very vague
Right.
about
Purposely
female
vague.
Right.
male impersonators, and they loop them in with strippers and topless people
Mhm.
or whatever, and they're basically saying you can't do that in public. What about Pride?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's Pride gonna look like without performers? Drag
I
queens?
was talking to one of the club owners in the Tampa Bay area of a gay club that we go to a lot, and I almost started crying in the middle of the damn club because we were chatting and we were like, how's business? And they're expanding and it's all this great stuff, and in Florida, going through their own stuff. And he was like, because Pride there is in June, and normally they would like have a big block party where the cars don't drive down the street, and they usually hire like big performers for Pride. And they were like, we're going to have our drag performers inside. We can't have them on the stage outside, because what if a conservative or whoever is coming by and they're like, my kid saw a drag queen on stage.
Mhm.
For Tampa Pride, they wouldn't even let their like lead drag queen on their float for Pride.
That's insane.
Like,
At what point, like, make it make sense. There's so much in Florida right now with like, oh, parents' rights. How about parents, you keep your kids the fuck at home? How about that?
I've never seen a drag queen flyer that says bring your kids, unless it's obviously a family-friendly event. And even
Right.
then, they are not doing death drops and quick cat in front of the kids. Like, they know how to act in front of children.
I would
I don't
assume if you're
understand.
volunteering your time to do whatever it is, like with kids, you're going to tailor it to children.
Right.
Like, no drag queen, no drag show that I ever went to was like, man, I wish the kids were here.
right.
It's parents who are like, I would love for my kid to experience this. That's fine. But like at this point, maybe like as a straight white ally, I'm like, parents, keep the fucking kids at home. Like, sorry, little Susie doesn't get to experience a drag show until she's 18, but like in the name of keeping the performers safe, this is one thing we can sit out. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
when we did the big gay brunch in Tampa, one of the first weekends, and I was like kind of tipsy, and like the show was so amazing, and I get it, right? Because it's such a loving, like joyful atmosphere. A thought crossed my mind when I was like, man, I would love to bring Maya to this. And the next thought was, but I won't,
Right.
because I don't want to put anybody else in danger or put anyone out or make anyone have to cater to a kid. Oh, well,
Right.
that's an experience that she can have when she's later in life and older. Like I don't understand some of this stuff, frankly, where it's like, oh, the kids, keep your kids away. Like, when is it on the responsibility of the parent? If you don't want your kid to see that, don't go to Pride. I don't get it.
Here's the thing that I will say, and I've been thinking about, I'm going to make a video on my own personal Instagram and TikTok. I think what also has just sent me through the roof are the people that have come down, and we talked about this when we had Erica Chanel on, about Dylan Mulvaney.
Oh, yeah.
With the Bud Light, and then like there's something else, and then like there are businesses that are like, we're no longer serving Bud Light anymore, and I'm like, you know what? If there is a bright side, to all of this stuff,
Yeah.
probably since 2017 in the gay community, every year as soon as June 1st hits, gays, we always mockingly play or post the video of the girl who is mocking businesses that on June 1st are like, hi, gay, we love you. Here's our bottom candles, and here's our tops,
Here's our rainbow logo, so you all know that we're all for the gays.
Right.
Here's a bank that just went rainbow colored, and you're like,
you're like, got it. And I remember even, on the radio in Tampa back then being like, oh my gosh, like this is so awesome to walk into the mall and to see all these stores have rainbows up. And how great if you are a young gay kid who's still in the closet, or maybe just your family knows and you're afraid to come out at school, how awesome that is to see all these businesses put, their money where their mouth is and actually support this cause.
Yeah.
But then there's this internal struggle in the gay community about, are we selling out? Is this too much? How much are they actually
really
supporting it?
Is it like a show? Is it like, oh, it's cool to be gay friendly, so we're gonna up our social standing by throwing a rainbow on stuff and not really activate, be an activist behind the scenes?
Right. Well, you know what? Time is up. We are going to truly see this Pride season who truly is standing behind the gay community and who is just doing lip service.
Facts.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's how I looked at it, because we were having a discussion in one of my group texts with my friends, and they were like, I can't believe that this business would pull Bud Light. And I'm like, let them, because you know what? I will take that place off of my list of places to go visit, because I'm sure a couple years ago, because even in their post where people are like, people are defaming us and this is so unfortunate, but we still don't support transgender people and we don't think it's real. And I'm like, I bet you they had a pride flag up last year. But you know what? We're taking it off the list. That's why it's the LGBTQ community. And there are even people in our own community who are like, I don't believe it anyway. And I'm like,
but what do they believe?
They don't believe in transgenderism.
Oh, so there's like an internal struggle too.
Internal homophobia.
100%. And I'm like, all right, girl, bye. We don't need you. When you come calling for help, bye. So to me, this is truly letting people show their true colors, and who's really there as an ally.
I have a question, because this has been bothering me, and I feel like it's my privilege showing that I don't know and that I'm oblivious to this, maybe. But the only way you can get past it is by asking. I don't understand where this all came from. I don't understand why we're even having a conversation about this, because it seems to me like such a non-issue. Like, does it impact who's I have to imagine, like, the gay community in general is smaller than the American community at large, right? Now we're talking about an even smaller portion of that community, the transgender community. And if you are lucky enough to know a transgender person, that's awesome. But so many people don't, because it's not that big of a percentage of the American population.
At all.
Why are we fighting about this? Is there nothing else going on? Or is it a deflection to keep our attention elsewhere while the real shit is going down? The shit that we should be paying attention to. And we're over here arguing about Bud Light. Where did it come from?
Florida. I honestly think Florida started all of this bullshit because Governor Ron DeSantis wanted to start pushing up some bills specifically about, trans kids, and how I remember he was, I can't remember anymore, but I know he pushed something about how there was this one situation where a student came out as trans to only his teacher. And the teacher was like, I don't know if I should tell the parents or not. And so I remember he was on a speech talking about that specific situation. And since then he was like, well, now we need to allow teachers to tell their parents if this happens, et cetera, et cetera. And so I feel like that situation just kind of made it evolve into what it is today.
It
So
also
it started in Florida? Is that what we're
well.
I want to believe it did.
okay.
Let's go back a little bit because this is one of my favorite things. This is what we call a culture war.
Well, yeah.
And this
I do know
is
that.
what they do is they, instead of saying, we want to fix the roads, we want to fix the infrastructure, we want to get high-speed railway, we want to get internet to places that don't have internet,
What
we
if
want to
we
pay
take,
our teachers more.
lobbyists out, or like, how about we fund politicians' campaigns through the taxpayers' money or whatever? I don't know.
And see, here's the thing is it is a deflection because, and I want to be respectful because I know that I'm coming at this from my liberal angle, but like the things since I've been an adult and going through the George Bush years, the Obama years, the Trump years, and now Biden, whenever they run, now some of them don't, but a lot of times, especially on national politics, they always go, well, look at what the other side wants to do to you. And from the Republican side, it never happens. Remember the whole big deal about Obama's birth certificate and about, is he true? It's, Barack Hussein Obama. And it was the scary Muslims, after 9/11.
Just really shocking to me too. I'm like, how is this being allowed? Do you think that, but it was never like people that really think that, someone that wasn't born in America somehow swindled his way to president. It wasn't actually about that.
No.
Because everybody knew it wasn't.
Right.
But it was like pushing that to make people angry.
It is a deflection.
Yeah.
It is a deflection. Now, I will say this. Most politicians lie because what is their job? You would think one is to serve us, the people that put them in office.
Well,
but
that's
no,
not supposed to be their job.
they want to keep power. They want to get elected. So how do you get elected? How do you get people to emotionally respond to you?
Yeah.
You tap on their fear.
Yeah.
And so it's always these people are trying to get you. The inner cities are there's so much violence. They're going to sprawl out into the suburbs. The transgender people are trying to touch your kids in the bathroom. The gay and the drag queens are trying to touch your children at drag brunches. It's always fear.
Yeah.
When was the last time that you heard someone from that side go, you know what? I want to help you get childcare. I want to help you have equitable pay with men. What are those issues? That is what I would say. Ask yourself that. Ask yourself that. Take away the Republican, the Democrat. Ask yourself, when my politician is speaking, are they trying to evoke fear, or are they actually trying to make my community better.
But the thing is, people can't see it now. If we go back to the whole like reading comprehension, whatever, they make fear look like love, which is like a psychological manipulation tactic,
Right.
where it's like, we love you so much that we want to protect your kids and give you, the parent, all the rights. So it looks actually like your politician is doing something for you. Your
Right.
politician is lauding you as a parent and saying, we just want to keep your kids safe. And what are you going to say? No. Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
I think I accidentally
Oh,
I
Holly's-
closed out of my hole.
If you're listening, Holly just exited out of our live stream.
Wait, I was really making a point and I hit the
I don't think
close
anyone
button.
can hear you on the, or actually they can still hear you on the video too.
No, it's fine. I'm coming back in. Anyway, I've like lost my whole point now. It's fine.
No, I'm really glad that you were circling back on news and just talking about that, because I also felt like it correlated.
It does.
In the sense of like, why are people, I'm also losing my train of thought.
No,
but also-
wait. They're thinking that so Miguel, you're like, be on the lookout for fear. But for some
Yes,
people,
fear
especially in America and like all of our crazy backward ass roots, fear is sort of like the contingency on which we were built. So fear looks like love, looks like my politician is doing something for me. Move this out of the way. They're trying to keep my kids safe. And they're doing it by getting rid of these crazy gays, like whatever. And so it looks like they're doing something for them. But in reality, they're doing nothing for them because that original thing was never at risk. They've created a problem and now they've created the solution. And so that's what they're giving to you, a created problem, a created solution for said problem. And you can't tell the difference because, again, now it looks like love. It's manipulated. Everyone is being manipulated and they can't see it. Because it's like the reading comprehension level of like reading a block of text and not knowing whether to be like, that sentence is very problematic. We're like, oh, well, that they wouldn't put it in a thing if it was not real. Like my mother fell for this sort of stuff all the time. All the time.
I'm glad you bring up the fear mongering. That's what I was trying to get at, is
100.
the fear mongering is driving people to the voting booths and to vote for this human that's going to, once again, a created solution from this created problem.
And here's the thing, like this goes back so long. This is why I love history so much, because you can see how it is just sort of like a cascade of politicians trying to get power, doing something to get there, and then how it affects us in the end. Because like in the 80s, Ronald Reagan was like the welfare queens. It's these black women in the ghetto who are just sitting there having babies, taking all your money. And so what did they do? They took away more welfare. And do you know who that affected, Mose? Poor white people.
Yeah.
The people that they said, those black people want to take your money.
Yeah. And then they swindled them. And there was not these people's fault. Like
Right.
they were like, they created the fear, created the problem. We're going to create the solution. Well, the solution actually screwed those poor white people. And so now they're mad.
Right.
And who were they mad at? The people the government told them was the problem. The black people.
So here,
The black people, the poor black people and the poor white people were in the same boat always.
right.
And the government created the otherism, the divide.
Here's why I wish there was a way for us as a society to care more about what's happening. And this is why, like, sometimes, and I've said this before, when I'm putting the show schedule together and I'm like, girl, I really don't care about what's the biggest tax debt in Charlotte. Like, I don't care. But do you know all these crazy freaking things that they're literally just trying to take away from you? I wish there was a way to put it in a entertainment filled way where people would pay attention. And so to your point about, you know, the fear with love, why don't you ask yourself, and if you are a conservative and you've made it this far, if you have a politician that's telling you gays are doing this, black people are doing this, or now they don't even use those words. It's the inner city, or the people on the urban, whenever they say they are doing this, ask yourself or Google, let me see the case studies. How many transgender men or women in high school and middle school are actually trying to compete? Is it 1 or 2, or is it 1,000?
Right.
And think about all the time that they've spent debating this that could have been helping you out more in your daily life.
Right.
So I think that to me is like where I wish we could be, is to say like, all right, even from the liberal side, if they're like, this politician doesn't care about you and okay, cool. Well, where's the proof? Show me. Don't just say it. Show me why you are trying to go against these other Americans.
Mm.
And I feel like if we all did that a little bit more, we could be in a better place of trying to like sift through political BS.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show me the example. And it's sort of like your friend that goes, well, a lot of people have been telling me that you've been talking behind my back, and that's why who
told you?
Who are all the friends?
A lot of people.
A lot.
Well, which ones are they? Well, it was Bob.
Okay.
Well, who else? Because you said a lot of people.
Right.
Well, but Bob said people were talking to him.
Right. And it's sort of like whenever we've had callers who are people who listen to the show and don't like us, and they'll be like, well, I know a lot of people are turning y'all off right now. And I'm like, who?
Tell me who.
I mean, tell me if it's true. Like, well, I'll go on an apology tour for something that's said. But like, who? Give me their email addresses and give me their phone numbers. I will personally call each person and apologize if I did indeed say something wrong. So that's why I ask yourself that.
Evidence. It's looking for evidence, and most people are not willing, have time, know how to do that sort of research, because it is kind of intensive. I mean, I like researching, and I think that's, why partly, I mean, I like what I do in this job, particularly like putting the trendings and stuff together, and I've always done that for Hollywood and trending. And I learned really early on, you better watch exactly what you say, because someone else listening is going to know better than you. And so that's why I will always like double and triple check what I'm about to say. And then I'll always say, oh, if I said something wrong, I'm like, dang it, like it's a point of pride, or like my ego gets in the way where I'm like, was I wrong? Damn it. But I had to admit I was wrong. But that's why I really check like 2-3 times to make sure that what I'm about to say is said in the right way, is, the facts are correct, because it's embarrassing to me. I don't, where did people have zero embarrassment and shame when they're simply just wrong? They don't care. They don't care that they're wrong.
They'll fight hard.
Stand in a circle of like truth and justice, my own moral compass, like fairness. And maybe that's the Capricorn coming out, but like I love to get to the bottom of like, why did a thing happen, and what's the truth about it, and is this just and fair? And I will look into that. And that's kind of how I go about even just doing the day-to-day work of our job.
We have a message from Laura Best on the Facebook page. She says, I have a transgender young man who I'm friends with who has gone through the transition. He was kicked out of his gym because someone complained that he was using the men's locker room and he wasn't born a man. I'm so over all of it. Zinda said, wait, where was that? Here we go. My roommate is transgender and she is phenomenal. She and my daughter get along so well. She has added to our dynamic and I wouldn't change it. So I think the best thing, the takeaway from The World is Burning podcast.
And so I guess we chose The World is Burning.
I know. You didn't even let me get to the other options.
Damn it. I want to know what the other ones were at least. Maybe we could table them.
Well, you know what? I'll say it and then we'll write it down for Friday's podcast.
Okay. Write it down.
Write it down. There is hope, as hopeless as it may seem. If you do feel that way, I do feel like, and I see a sea of it happening slowly. But Gen Zers are not fucking around.
No. They are the leaders. Like I said this on the radio today. I was like, Gen Z are the change makers that we as millennials thought we were.
Right.
Now, us millennials were needed because we went to therapy
Mhm.
and we're like the cycle breakers that somebody had to stand up to their boomer parents
Right.
and say, hey, we got to change. And so we were like, we're going to be the change makers. Well, we can only do so much. So we did like, we're like the one putting like, if we're in a superhero movie,
Mhm.
we're like holding the Empire State Building from falling down,
Mhm.
thus allowing Gen Z to come through and actually fight the battle. Does
And
that makes it? I think that's how I picture it.
100%. And I really think that it has to do with TikTok. I
Thank
think
God.
that the fact
And they're trying to
that
ban that, by the way.
Right.
Mhm, they sure are.
Why do you think they are? Because people are amassing knowledge without their media intervention.
Right.
Mhm. Because when you think about it, we weren't all connected as millennials. And I think that's why like the accounts for people that are in that, 28 to 41 range right now, the like I am 30 AF Instagrams are so
Mhm.
big because we're so nostalgic for times when we weren't so connected.
Yeah.
But that's all Gen Z knows. And so they've
Right.
taken it and been like, all right, so you want to try to take away all of our rights and mess with our transgender friends and, make sure that we can't go to drag shows, or you want to pull the books out of our libraries? Bitch, we're a year or two or now turning 18 to vote. We're going to get the truth out. That's where I have hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
if there is
so-
any hope to be had, it's in Gen Z. And even more so, I don't know what to expect from Gen Alpha.
Right.
Nobody knows, but we can only hope for their push through as well.
But I will say for us millennials that as we get into leadership positions, to continue to listen to, the people younger than us. And there was a TikTok I saw a few months ago where there was a Gen Zer who was just in the working force. And she was like, here's a response I got from, I think she was a real estate agent or something like that. And she was like, here's a response I got from my Gen Xer or boomer boss. And it was just like, you're wrong, blah, 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 blah. And then she messaged the millennial manager and was like, I think that this problem is wrong or whatever. And the millennial manager was like, thank you so much for pointing out how I messed up. I always appreciate your feedback. And I wish I could remember the specific sayings of it. But the TikTok, the girl was like, what?
Yeah. She was like,
This is who I want to work for.
I
This
know,
is the
exactly.
type of manager I want, someone who listens to
Right.
me. And so
Yeah.
it is up to us as millennials, as we get to these positions of power, to listen,
Yes. Yeah.
give our expertise, but listen.
Yeah.
Like I did with Keldon. That young Gen Zer over there.
I am not a Gen Zer. How dare you?
Are you
Millennial.
a young millennial?
I'm a young millennial. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. 93.
Oh boy.
Get
Listen,
it.
millennials span a large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Look at us, millennials.
Look at us uniting and holding back the Empire State Building.
Right. It's
If
heavy.
you're a boomer, we appreciate you too. Thank you so much, especially if you're an ally and you do a great job, because not all older boomers
No.
or people are that way.
No, and they should not get that rap. And I feel like Gen X gets a bad rap too, but they were the movers and the shakers.
I feel
mean,
like Gen Xers get left out. I
They
feel like
do.
Gen Xers are like, nobody want to talk about us.
they're-
Daria,
but they
Nirvana.
like it. They like it. They're like, please leave us out of this mess. Like, we're happy. We're the latchkey kids. We made ourselves peanut butter sandwiches. We rode around on our bikes until 8 p.m. Our parents didn't know where we were. And it was like, so they're fine, but they're like, I feel like Gen X are the engineers behind the scenes.
Yes. They're like, all right, listen, we're like middle management waiting to bump these older people out. We got you, baby. We've been
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah.
Producer Kelvin, what's all your social media?
TikTok, Twitter, Instagram at Kelvin Live.
Holly O'Connor.
Radio Holly, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram.
Mine is Miguel Fuller. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Be Real, and on Peloton. Please give us a 5-star rating. We would appreciate it. If not, don't. Just don't.
Okay.
Just don't.
Just don't.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the Gen Xers that are chiming in here, Zinda and Laura. We appreciate you all. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Miguel and Holly Uncensored.